Today I fucked up by having the FBI pull me out of class. Obligatory. This happened a few months ago. This was easily the most stressful roller coaster of an event that I hope I ever experience. The scene is freshman year of college. I'm a wide-eyed innocent student having a great time away from his parents. I've made some good friends and enjoy messing with them. As such, I decide to pull a little prank on them. It starts with a simple idea. I'm going to Ohio on a business trip. I was actually going to lunch with my parents, but this was a more fun story. I hadn't initially thought out this entire prank, but just like high school presentations, I decided to wing it. Every so often I would go on these out-of-state business trips, but I stayed vague as to what my business was. I told them that it was somewhat illegal, but in more of a gray area. My friends were incredibly intrigued by my illicit endeavors, and as time went on, they began to ask more questions about this business. I still had little to no plan for this ordeal, but boy did I milk it. I had them convinced that there were overseas bank accounts with millions of dollars in them and that I had several people involved in this business. At one point I told them the story of how one of my employees got caught trespassing on government property and I had to pay $10,000 to bail him out. I would accidentally send a picture of several $1,000s, claiming it was meant to go to someone else with no other explanation. This went on for several months up until about April. The semester was coming to a close, and I had to figure out a finale for my little project. My roommates were in on my prank and several iterations of plans were discussed. The final version of this bad idea plan was as follows. I will create an email address posing as the chief of police at my college. In the email, the officer, we'll call him Bill Myers, will inform my friends that he is currently looking to bring in Short Tail 359 for questioning. I was very specific to say that no one should call 911 or contact anybody outside of this email address with the excuse that there was no official investigation, so Bill was looking into the matter himself. I then went on to explain how Short Tail 359 is conducting a business out of university housing and that this is all we know, but the business might be illegal/dangerous. In summation, email me if you know of Short Tail 359's whereabouts. Don't call 911, don't contact anyone else in the police department. I figured I covered my bases and sent the email. It was very well worded and quite convincing to a group of people who already believed I was running a secret business. Sure enough, my friends bought it hook, line and sinker. One of them replied, informing Bill that she didn't know anything about my business, other than that I mentioned it occasionally. 3 friends ignored the email altogether, and one texted me saying she didn't believe it. The next 3 days were interesting. I had several classes with these people and finals were upon us, so skipping class was not a good idea, but I had to make them believe I was on the run. Fortunately, some of these classes had several hundred students and I was able to sit far away from our usual spots. The smaller classes I avoided altogether. Meals were eaten at odd times, and at one point I had to hide in the shower because a friend was in my dorm. I had no contact with the prank-ish outside the occasional text. Fast forward to the Thursday I decided would be the day to reveal my shenanigans. I'm walking into class when these 2 men in suits stop me just inside the door. They ask me if I am Short Tail 359 and upon confirming this they tell me they need to speak with me outside. We walk downstairs to the building's lobby where I am greeted by 2 more men who have guns at their sides. All 4 of them hold up their badges in dramatic fashion and one introduces himself as Agent Michael Scarn with the FBI, fake name obviously. It was approximately at this point that I peed a little bit as I realized that I was in some trouble. Agent Scarn, do you know why we're here? Short Tail 359, no, but I have a pretty good guess. Agent Scarn, well, why don't you tell us what your guess is? I proceeded to explain the email I sent out along with a brief summary of the genesis of my prank. 50 minutes of questioning later and I had given Agent Scarn the password to the email account, signed an agreement saying I won't access the account or I'd face several charges, given a written statement of the events, crapped my pants twice, and completely missed my class. Agent Scarn gave me his business card and said they would be in touch. I go back to my dorm and try to come to terms with the fact that I may have ruined my future career and life altogether. All my friends had a good laugh at my expense, but not before I had a good laugh at their expense for believing my stupid business story. After a long sleepless weekend, I get a call from a sergeant at the police station. He says that he needs to meet with me, and we arrange a time. I go down to the station, and for 10 minutes all he does is yell at me and tell me what a stupid idea this was. Now I'm a pretty good kid. Never got in trouble in school, on a roll, never so much as a speeding ticket, so having a police officer yell at me was a new experience. He finally calms down enough for me to explain that this is an anomaly and that it was supposed to be an innocent prank. He believes me and tells me that regardless, they're going to charge me with criminal impersonation, which is a Class A misdemeanor. My court date is set for a couple weeks from now, and that was the end of it. I go to court fully prepared to leave with a no longer perfect record. As the staff is processing me and taking my mugshot, a lady asks me what my name is. I tell her Short Tail 359, when a guy jumps around the corner and yells, "But you can just call him Chief Bill Myers." This was a much needed laugh and also informed me that word of my idiocy had gotten around town. I go into the courtroom and waited for this light-hearted judge to call my name. Most of the charges were speeding tickets or marijuana related, so the judge was moving pretty quickly. However, he calls my name and then pauses. I walk up to the podium, and he's still paused, clearly reading over my file. He looks up at me, and then back down at my file again. After reading it completely through, he just starts laughing. Several minutes go by before he finally asks me if I have any sort of criminal history. I tell him I don't have so much as a speeding ticket, and he asks if I would like to keep it that way. I happily say yes, and he gives the DA my paperwork. The DA asks for my story and tells me that he's never seen anything like this before, something I had heard several times at this point. He informs me that this is something they could have expunged as long as I pay my court fees. I thank him and go back to waiting for the judge to call me up again. When he does, a smile immediately dawns his face, and he begins to chuckle. At this point I'm relieved enough to let out a giggle of my own, since I can feel the entire courtroom wondering what I've done. The judge tells me that he will expunge my charge and asks me if I will ever do something like this again. I assure him that I will not, and he says, with a smile on his face, "You know, son, everyone in this courtroom is wondering who you impersonated, but I'm going to do something that you should have done and keep my mouth shut." I thank him, sheepishly walk out of the room. Later that day I took the required documents back to the court and had the whole charge expunged in a matter of hours. It was easily the most stressful month of my life and was not worth it at all, but I am now able to walk around with an FBI agent's card in my wallet and keep a fond memory of being laughed at by a judge. Too long didn't read. I play a prank on my friends that ends with me being questioned by 4 FBI agents for almost an hour and charged with criminal impersonation. Edit, here's a link to Agent Scarn's business card. It's a little faded since it sits in my wallet. Edit, 2, spelling. Congratulations, /you/shorttail359. This post has been voted by our community Discord as the fuck up of the week. I'm laughing with you up lol, but there's something I don't understand. Well, you see, one of my friends forwarded it to the police department and asked if it was real. They called in the FBI to investigate. I intentionally left this out of the story since it's a whole different rabbit hole that is more dramatic and not as interesting. Edit, we're still really good friends for everyone going, "Oh, what an awful person to rat you out. It was an honest mistake and she just wanted to see if the email was real." I'm not letting a good friend go just because of one screw up that didn't even end badly. I respect your dedication to the prank. I've also invested a lot of time in a prank before, and I know the payout when you tell them the truth makes it all worth it. It would have been even better if you hadn't told your friends why the FBI actually wanted to talk to you and let them think that they were questioning you about your illegal business. Ha ha ha, I didn't even think about that. I was in such a panic it didn't even occur to me to continue the prank. So now you can use the card to impersonate an FBI agent. Brilliant. Now there's an idea. God, I hope this is a real story. I can post a picture of Agent Scarn's business card. It's got the FBI seal at the top. Today I fucked up by finding out I've been accidentally dating and fucking my half-sister, after taking a 23andMe DNA test. Edit 2 proof. Throwaway, obviously. I also made the same post over at r/23andMe. I just found out a few hours ago, and my girlfriend and I are currently a mental wreck. Quick background. My girlfriend, I refer to her as Sarah, and I have been dating for a little over than a year, and our relationship has been going very well. We both happen to come from the same town and met each other in college after being introduced by a mutual friend of ours. Here's where the FU begins to unravel. Last year for Christmas, Sarah decided to come over and stay with me at my apartment for the holidays. I also had decided not to go home for the holidays either. Plus, all my other roommates were back home visiting family, so we had the whole place to ourselves. It was perfect. Christmas Day rolls around, and Sarah had bought the both of us 23andMe DNA kits. The thing is that we were both conceived by in vitro fertilization via sperm donors. Both of our fathers were infertile, so our parents had no choice. Deep down, the both of us were hoping to find our biological fathers through the service. Fast forward less than a month later to today, and both of our results are in. Sarah comes over to spend the weekend and we go through our results together on our laptops. We compare our ancestry and health reports and nothing seems off. I even found out I'm 2% Native American. All was well until we arrived at the DNA relatives section. Sarah tightly holds my hand and says I hope we both find our fathers. Then I open mine up. At the top of my screen, I see Sarah's name. 27% DNA shared. Half-sister. Sarah starts hysterically laughing, and tells me to stop joking. I don't react to anything she says, and just stare at my screen in disbelief. I then abruptly grab her laptop and open up her DNA relatives section. We see the same thing. My name at the top. 27% DNA shared. Half-brother. At this moment my brain just completely short-circuits. I've been having sex with my half-sister. Holy fucking shit. WTF. My mind starts going at 100 miles per hour and I began hyperventilating, going into a state of shock. I can't even remember what Sarah was doing at this time. It's pretty self-explanatory by now, but for those of you who don't understand how we could be related, it turns out our moms were probably both fertilized by the same sperm sample. What are the fucking odds, right? The fact that we're from the same town certainly increased the odds, but still. 6 hours later, just typing this entire post makes my body shiver. There are no words. I have to express what my mental state is now. To put it in simple words, I feel traumatized. Part of me still won't stop thinking about how much I love Sarah, and then I realize our entire relationship was incest. I honestly feel disgusted standing in my own skin. I've even been contemplating suicide. Sarah and I haven't talked at all since going into shock. Right as I'm finishing up this post, Sarah has grabbed her stuff and left my apartment a few moments ago. I'm probably not going to respond to any of your comments/questions for now, and I honestly want to be left alone in the corner of my room. I really just needed a place to vent all this. Too long didn't read. Former GF and I are both sperm donor babies and come from the same town. We take a 23andMe DNA test and find out we're each other's half-sibling. Meaning I've been having sex with my sister for over a year. Turns out we both were conceived from the same sperm sample, go figure. I do not give permission for my post to be used in the making of any movie, story, book, etc. Edit, my mates just came home and are giving me support. Edit 2, RIP inbox. Thank you all so much for the support. I just logged back in and didn't really expect this post to blow up. Last night was rough. Sarah's friend/roommate called letting me know Sarah was home. As of now, Sarah and I still haven't talked. But after a night of thinking, I believe I've come to terms with what we've discovered. For those of you who still think this is fake, I honestly wish it was. Here's a screenshot showing our shared DNA. I think the best way for Sarah and I to heal is to go back home, our town, and see how this all began with our families. Only then will we be able to accept the reality. I'll post more updates as things develop. It's understandably a pretty traumatic experience, so I think it's best that you and your girlfriend have some time apart. However, at some point I would recommend two things: 1. Talking to her about the results, and 2. Getting a second test done by another reputable service or medical provider. Your family doctor may even have a recommendation. As you said, this is a pretty phenomenal circumstance. Before making any sort of long-term, final decision about your relationship, verifying the test results should be a priority. I am sorry for your situation, and I hope you two will be able to work this out. Carrot, on the other hand, nobody has mentioned it so far, but there is a House episode with this exact plot, Fools for Love, SO3E05. Maybe I'm just too open-minded, but I don't think you did anything wrong or disgusting. I mean, it's not like your actual brother and sister that grew up together. Not saying I'd just continue or anything, but I can't see how you could have known or prevented this, so keep your head up, smile. The only real danger of incest is obviously the genetic issues that arise from having children when your DNA has such a high degree of similarity. There are thought to be evolutionary mechanisms in humans that prevent attraction among siblings, but those mechanisms depend on social cues, which the op never had because he never knew his half-sister. So, he never did anything wrong, and shouldn't feel guilty or disgusting. As someone else said, if no children were had, then no real harm has been done. Edit: yes, there is a small chance of any serious issue arising from two half-siblings having a child. However, the genetic issues that would accumulate over successive generations are the driving force for the repulsion humans have for having sex with their families. First of all, try not panic. If the result is correct, you need it confirmed by a qualified doctor and accredited laboratory. Not saying the result is wrong, but don't let the word of an internet company ruin your life. Get to your doctor, both of you, and get some proper genetic testing and genetic counseling. Today I fucked up by buying a house that wasn't attached to the sewer and discovering this fact while crawling through my own plots. NSFW. Obligatory. This was a while ago. So it's a known fact amongst friends and family that I always have a poop or fart joke waiting to go. It's just who I am. You can have your turgid penis and voluptuous vagina jokes, I'll take a heaving helping of poop jokes with a squelching mound of fart stories any day of the week. If you've shat your pants in public, I want to know. The more public and embarrassing the better. It's not a sex thing, I swear. I've just always been like that since I was a young child. There is something inherently humorous to a subject so personal and private, and that will never change. That knowledge combined with the events I am about to relay to you make me wonder if perhaps we do live in a world where unseen forces act to maximize the comedic value of my life. Some don't believe me when I tell them this tale, but there's a link at the end with video evidence, so suspend your disbelief and prepare to be grateful for your moderate home repair issues. It could be far worse. Here we go. My wife and I bought the house with a few minor problems that were handled during closing, like all deals are. We knew there would be a few surprises from what friends and family said, so we stashed some money aside and opened a Home Depot card for the promotional no-interest purchases. Sure enough, the floor wasn't insulted in the downstairs, and since the crawl space was hard to get around into, the inspector never caught it. I went ahead and purchased a load of insulation to re-insulate, whatever. It was summer, and after getting married a few months earlier then moving, we were exhausted, so we worked on the interior of the house and the yard for the remainder of the good weather. During this time we'd get the occasional whiff of something stanky, but didn't think much of it. I'd buy some Drano and the smell would go away. Okay, the house has some plumbing issues, no biggie. $7 a week until we got the rest of the home under control and we'd get a plumber in to take a look. It's the week before Thanksgiving and I finally get under the house to work on that insulation. It's cooler and everything is drying out for the winter. I've been in some crawl spaces that would gross the average human out before, but this place, Jesus fucking Christ, this place took the cake. Blew a load all over it, force-fed it to a drugged-out former child actor, then bottled the shit they produced for resale at the local farmer's market as a skin care product. It was so evil. I knew right then we were in for a ride. The house had been flipped, and if it wasn't visible during a tour, it had not been fixed. That week I found 2 dead cats. an old stereo system from the 80s that had been Hulk smashed, a car wheel, a broken window for a bar from New Hampshire, we're in New York, and so much insulation it took 15 extra large trash bags to remove among other random debris. Even with a respirator my nose still get clogged, and I spend the remainder of the day with no sense of smell. Anyone who knows anything about homes will tell you when someone flips a house they tend to buy shitholes and plug them with some spackle to keep the streams of festering shit at bay before selling them to unsuspecting dupes like us. If you're buying a home that's been fit to negotiate like you're fucking the shit out of a fresh coconut that will be thrown away immediately like any normal person would, because I guarantee you that those sellers have been hiding cum-filled coconuts in the walls just waiting for you to find as you settle in and attempt to make changes to the home. They don't give a fuck if the place falls apart next year, because the reality of real estate law is it's buyer beware. They deserve to make as little as fucking possible for their trouble, so go in fucking if you want to come out satisfied. Then again, I'm biased, as you will come to find out. So I'm under the house 2 days before Thanksgiving and hauling bags of old insulation out through a tiny hole I can barely fit through. My wife tells me she's going to take a shower and won't be able to help if I need anything. I crawl back under and figure I'll grab another bag or two and call it quits. Then I hear the water. If you're a homeowner, the worst sound you can hear is water running where it shouldn't be. That's better than never hearing the water, but it still means there's a lot of water where it shouldn't be any, and if you don't find it, things get messy fast. I didn't know much, but I knew that. I hear a splattering that is roughly equivalent of a shower running, but it sounds like water is pouring into a pool. I've owned a home for less than 4 months at this point, so everything makes me nervous, but this struck fear in my heart. It's even coming from the corner of the crawl space the inspector couldn't get to because of ductwork, making this urgent and super inconvenient. I'm about 100 pounds lighter than the inspector, so I squirm my way over the main sewer line and over the field of nasty old insulation that would still take another 10 bags to remove. Clouds of fiberglass cat piss dust are billowing and making it hard to see through my respirator. I wriggle under the main return air duct, just barely making. Something shifts and the fucker slides about 3 inches closer to the ground, making a return from this side of the crawlspace impossible. I sigh and keep going. My nose is always clogged from the moment I get down there. Something about that dust just immediately makes it impossible for me to smell anything for a good couple of hours, even though I make sure the respirator fits snugly against my face. The light of my headlamp illuminates the problem. There's a stream of water pouring from somewhere between the joists. I think to myself, great. The pipe broke. And crawl forward to the sparkling stream. I climb over a mound and down the other side onto what I thought was dirt, but the moment I touched it, the layer of dirt on the water rippled with the water beneath it. I see the brown ripples spreading, but it's too late, and the cool water floods into my gloves. Moments later I realize my entire torso is wet as the water soaks through my jumpsuit. What the fuck? This is more than a single shower. This is like a month of showers in a dusty lake under our house. The water stops running and I decide it's time to just get out of the crawl space and call the plumber. We put away money specifically for stuff like this. It won't be fun, but whatever. I'm moister than an oyster at this point and take a soggy second to look over the tangle of pipes and mountains of dirt. Weird, the floor should be flat, but whatever. Searching for a path to where there's a space behind the furnace I'll be able to slide through. I see it and start slogging through the sludgy mud, trying to figure out what it's going to cost to drain this water so the plumber can work. I hear it. A toilet flush. It didn't hit me until it hit me. The better part of a flush splattered across my back, unleashing a subhuman scream of disgust and outrage. I turned back to try to see where it's coming from, and respirator caught on a random old pipe sticking out of the ground, sliding to the side. A whiff of unadulterated corruption made it to my clogged crawl space, dust-filled sinuses. Jesus, Buddha, Sagan, anyone with temporal admin rights, wind this horror story back and get me out of here. Send me back to the womb. Let me start over. I want to start over. We have to go back, Kate. I'm sure you're thinking, why the fuck would my wife shit after showering? I thought same thing. To be honest, I don't know. She married me. I livestream jars of meat for my own personal entertainment. I guess she's going to be a little off, too. The realization of how far up Schitt's Creek I am soaked into my brain at the same speed of that which soaked into my back. The upstairs bathroom wasn't on the tax documents prior to the seller's ownership. It was part of the renovation. Someone fucked up bigly, and since the house wasn't occupied after the renovation, this is only now coming to light. Holy shit, I'm crawling through 3 months of shit, my wife's shit, my father-in-law's shit. Memories of every shit I'd taken since moving in coursed through a mind imploding with revulsion like some nightmarish montage, complete with the disembodied image of some arch-nemesis cackling in the corner of the vision. We had numerous taco nights. I had discovered a sale on discount hot dogs a month earlier and had an entirely unrelated case of food poisoning a week after that was so bad I was showering instead of wiping. All of that was down here, with me, on me, soaking into me. The panic set in and I scrambled up and over the mound that, when it broke under my frantic grasping, revealed yet to decompose toilet paper and slimy fecal matter, complete with a visible kernel of corn, the metaphorical cherry on top of this unholy shit cake that I was scrambling through. 5 minutes later my wife comes downstairs and finds me in the downstairs shower, which was also not attached to the sewer, crying hysterically. The stress of finding one thing after another leading up to me crawling through my own waste had been too much. I could only hope that in time the stains burned into my memory would fade. Today we joke about it because what the fuck else can you do? We had it fixed, we moved on. We still can't believe we never smelled it bad enough to think more than a backed up drain. We started taking classes on how to repair your own home and are learning as much about basic home repair as we can. We are wiser and more capable today. This kind of disaster won't happen again. As promised, video proof. Since I've been asked, here's my meat stream. I think the heatwave killed the maggots. Edit, meat stream is back. The heatwave made my laptop overheat. Edit, also on Twitch. To answer your questions, yes, we had an inspector, and no, New York State does not hold inspectors liable for anything, but after several other far more expensive issues and discovery of discrepancies in the sale documents, an attorney has taken the case. Too long didn't read. I bought a house where the sellers had not attached the pipes to the sewer and the crawl space prevented the inspector from catching it. I learned about this 3 months after the sale while crawling through the puddle of poops. I'm a real estate guy, done flips, managed properties. Someone broke several laws, and you have a payday coming. If a bathroom was added unpermitted, it's an issue. If a bathroom was added permitted and the city permitting guys didn't check something basic like this, it's a problem. I know hundreds of flippers, I can't see a single one doing this. But there are bad ones out there. It's possible they bought it not knowing too, though from your description it sounds like the flipper added it. But if they bought it with the problem, they are also victims. Essentially, whoever did the original and then didn't finish it and disclose it is going to be turning that shit into gold for you, and not of the Reddit variety. I'm a GC, used to do flips until recently. If any plumbing was done, at all, unpermitted, payday. Because there's absolutely no way an unconnected main drain gets missed by a plumbing inspection without someone severely fucking up. You slashed a taco or not a taco, the man who crawled through 500 yards of shit and came out clean the other end. I just sat down at my computer and put my headphones on, and started playing your video. It was muted, so I had to unmute my headphones, and I heard the sound of a guitar strum like a really awful dramatic story was about to happen. Like the Westworld theme song. That's perfect. / sure enough, the floor wasn't insulted. I always ensure the floor is insulted when I make an offer on a home. If the floor isn't insulted, you're not going to get the best price. Stupid fucking floor, smiley face. I'm more curious about these meat in a jar live stream.